Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr and welcome back to my channel. Today I have some flat shaker birthday cards to share with you featuring brand new stamps and dies from the Mama Elephant February 2022 release. I have been addicted to creating flat shakers and they have some amazing new products this month, kind of geared towards birthdays but also other occasions, but I thought we would start with birthday cards for my first two card shares this month. For the first card, I am using this awesome happy birthday to you panel with the oversized greeting, which is beautiful on its own, but I thought it would be super fun to incorporate some of the little agenda hamsters popping out of some of the letters here on the design once our panel is all finished. I'm going to start by taping this down to my stencil mat and masking off from the stitching line out. This instantly adds a look of a matted panel to our card design. Then using Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated Inks and the Simon Says Stamp blending brushes, I'm going to ink blend a rainbow across my panel kind of at a diagonal. Diagonals are so super forgiving and are one of my favorite ways to ink blend a background. Next, we're going to use some blush ink and blend that right next to bubblegum, kind of pulling some of that color up into bubblegum like so. We may need to go back and forth between our blending brushes a bit to get the perfect blend. Next, we're going to use a little cantaloupe ink. I really love this ink, this orange color, pardon. We're going to ink blend that into the blush. Then we have Sunbeam. And I like to tap a little bit of the excess ink off first before bringing it to my panel for that beautiful seamless blend. Next up we have Sprout. This is going to be our limey green color. And finally, we're going to use a little surf ink. Once I have the background ink blended the way I want it to look, I'm going to take a Fawn Stars stencil and place it over the background and ink blend again with these exact same colors of ink. I'm not even going to use a darker color from each color family. And we are going to ink blend a tone-on-tone design. It's pretty subtle, but I like the little bit of texture this adds to the background. So I actually decided to go ahead and tape this down so it didn't shift quite so badly. Kind of in each corner, I'm just going to place a little post-it tape and then go in with my blending brush. So that was Surf. Then we're going to go back with our Sprout ink. Then a little Sunbeam. And as these inks dry, they will mute just a little bit, but you still end up with a really awesome tone-on-tone effect. I used a much lighter hand with the initial ink blending on this card, making it that the stencil design really shows up well. Then we're going to do a little cantaloupe, blush, and bubblegum to finish out. When I remove the stencil, we're left with this beautiful design. I absolutely love how this turned out. Then of course we'll remove the post-it tape, which leaves us with a beautiful white border. This is one of the quickest and easiest ways to instantly mat up your background. Now this is awesome as is. You could inlay some solid cardstock letters if you wanted to and do something a little bit more simple, but it's just a really, really pretty background. Look how great that looks with some white cardstock behind it. So next I am going to take a white cardstock panel and I'm going to just take a microfiber cloth and buff away a little of that ink that's left on my stencil mat. And we are going to ink blend our second panel background with the same colors of ink, but I used a much heavier hand. Now I did go over this with the stencil, but the stenciling actually did not end up showing up. So once dry, it didn't show up. I kind of wanted to preface the whole, the start of this with that, because I did use a heavier hand with this ink. If I had gone and grabbed a darker shade of ink to do my stenciling for this card, probably would have held up a little bit better, or used some glitz glitter gel or glitz glitter paste or something like that. So just a little FYI that not everything always works out the way you want it to, but in the end, I think it's okay. There is a lot going on with the shaker in the background, especially of this card. The Happy Birthday to You covers a lot more surface area than this next one. So keep that in mind, and hopefully it doesn't take away from the overall design. I am going to splatter both backgrounds with a little white gouache, which helps as well. I do really like the darker ink blending on this one, and I think it's really fun to show that using both of these color combinations are exactly the same. It's simply the heavier hand I'm using on this panel compared to the previous panel that gives it a little bit more of a brighter look. We'll be using the Party Scene cover over the top of this. Mama Elephant always has such beautiful covers, and this is no exception. It's these really easy streamers, and then there's also extra balloons and confetti and things like that. I didn't use them on my card today, but you could definitely incorporate them if you wanted to. So really awesome. I like that they filled in all the little parts and pieces in between the streamers with extra dies, since they had room for it, and that gives you a lot more bang for your buck. Oh, I love this. It kind of reminds me of Rainbow Sherbet. Now the ink blending seriously looked so blotchy, and I was a little worried I was not going to love this background as much as I loved the first one, but I did go back over it, as you can see here, and this is one of the reasons I did a little bit of a heavier hand with my ink blending, just to try to get rid of some of those darker marks, but it did end up kind of settling, fading, absorbing into the background, into the cardstock, and giving me a really beautiful blend. I am going to cut out the part of the stenciling, since, as I previously mentioned, it doesn't end up showing up in the finished design, and that way we can move on to some of the other parts of the card. Next up, I've been using this low profile plastic box that I actually had in storage that I hadn't been using, that has been perfect for splattering white gouache and collecting all the little splatters that go everywhere. Plus I can reactivate the white gouache that's already in here with a little dab of water and splatter my background. So that has been working really well for me. I just slide it underneath my desk and pull it out when I'm ready to use it. So you can see here that the stars really showed up great until the ink dried, and then they didn't. So if you want to create something similar, I highly recommend using a 1 shade darker or 2 shades darker ink, whatever you want to do there, to help that show up. I'm going to set these aside to completely dry while we stamp our adorable images. Now I couldn't fit them all on this scrap of Nina 110-pound weight cardstock, so I am just going to use scraps today for all of my cute little critters. I'm using images from the Celebration Hamsters and Little Hamster Agenda. The streamer, the birthday party scene card that we just ink blended, that one is going to feature the Celebration Hamsters, and then the Happy Birthday to You cover plate is going to feature the Little Agenda Hamsters. I love that they are the next addition to the Little Agenda family. I do want to share a fun little tip with you guys that own a Brother Scan and Cut. So my friends and I recently had a small weekend crafty get together here, and we had discussed the Brothers Scan and Cut. In fact, most of the girls ended up purchasing a Brothers Scan and Cut or had one. And we're talking about things that would be easier with the Scan and Cut. And one of those things, you guys, that came up in the topic of our conversation is the Mama Elephant Little Agenda. Sometimes it's a hassle to figure out which dies go with which character. It's not the end of the world. So I definitely don't want to make it sound like that, because you guys know I love my dies. But I do want to preface this video today that I actually die cut everything with my Brothers Scan and Cut, and I didn't use the coordinating dies. I just wanted to try it out and see if it worked, and it was a huge time saver. Not having to cut apart the dies, not having to figure out, just for the little agenda. I used it for everything because I just stamped them together, but especially for the little agenda, not having to figure them out was just incredible. I was really, really blown away with the results. So I did want to throw that out there for any of my friends who own a Brothers Scan and Cut and maybe haven't tried that or whatever. I think it is a great way to maybe die cut a bunch of the little agenda critters. I really kind of jump-started some ideas of how to mix and match past little agenda critters and maybe stamp a whole bunch of them and just be able to use the Brothers Scan and Cut to cut them out. Not getting rid of my regular dies though. I know I've had a couple people ask, and I'm definitely not going to be doing that, but I do like it as an additional tool to try out. And so I just wanted to mention that, since it is something I tried that worked really well. I opted to color all of my hamsters first. I'm using E81, 84, and 87. Apparently this is my new favorite color combination. I have listed all the colors down below in the description here on YouTube, as well as on my blog post that coordinates with this video for easy reference. There is going to be a lot of rainbow happening here today. I'm using a lot of my favorite rainbow colors just to really complement and coordinate with the backgrounds. I love that, especially, I mean, yes, little agenda, there's so many images throughout that entire collection of stamps that you could really mix and match. There's like a lot of balloons and a lot of party and all of that good stuff. But I want to talk about the Celebration Hamsters. There are other stamp sets featuring other critters that would complement these birthday designs really well. And I think it would be super fun to mix and match across the collection to create some really fun birthday designs. I think it's really hard to choose because I think the images are so super cute, but I think the hamster floating with the balloons is one of my favorites. I know I've mentioned this in past videos. It's probably been a while. I love balloon images. I don't love balloons. I know that's so funny to say. I don't know what it is. They're just not my favorite. Never have been, especially like when my kids were little and wanted balloons all the time. I let them have them, but they're just, I don't know. It's one of those things that I don't love. But I love balloon images. I mean, if there is a balloon image in a stamp set, I'm going to use it. I use it in the little agenda. I use it here. Some of my very favorite stamp sets feature balloons and critters. So I just think that's funny. My first color combination I'm using is R30, 32, and 35. I know this is a go-to that I use often. It's a kind of peachy red color, but for me, I use the blush Pawsitively Saturated ink from Simon Says Stamp, and I felt that this is a very close match to that. Next up, we're going to use Y11, I think Y08, and maybe Y18 in different color combinations, or Y19 it looks like, for my yellow color combination. And again, I felt like this matched the Sunbeam Pawsitively Saturated ink I used. And you'll notice I'll just pop over and color in some of the accessories that our little Celebration hamsters are wearing or have with them. We're using YG 21, 23, and 17 for the next balloon. Just like so. I'll use that over on some of the other images as well. BG 13, 11, and 10 is the next color combination, or some combination of those three, depending on what I'm coloring. I think I only use BG 11 on the larger balloon. And again, this matches the surf color very well. The greens match the sprout color. And then I think we'll do pink for the last balloon. I am going to incorporate some orange in other areas of the design since I didn't quite have enough balloons for the colors I used on my card. And this is RV 52 and 55, I think. No, RV 63 and 55. I knew I was wrong. Now, once we have some of these accessories colored, I'm going to do the cake plate in aqua. I don't know what it is about an aqua cake plate, but it's probably one of my all-time favorite colors to do for a cake plate. And then I'm going to do some rainbow or bright colors for the layers inside the cake. I thought that would be really fun for where that little slice is missing. There is another image with the cake slice itself, so that's super fun. And then we're going to do a red frosting, or that peachy red frosting dripping down the cake. And I'm going to go for a different color combination for the cake itself to make it a chocolate cake. We're going to use E40, 44, and 43. Is that right, you guys? Probably not. I think I used E47 and 44. I apologize. That's going to be coming next. I had all the markers out for these cards, it felt like. And that looks good. Oh, so cute. I love it. Yeah, E43, 44, and 47 is what I ended up using for the cake. So I'm going to go in with my lightest color first. That's E43. These colors I use a lot, and I interchange them a lot depending on what it is I'm coloring. It's still one of my all-time favorite brown color combinations. So E47 is next. And then E44. Just like so, we'll go in with a little dot detail. Do a little ink blending, like so. And then I do have a few little areas left to color. So the candle, I love that this little hamster is holding the candle. I think that's cute. All the little, I'm not exactly sure what these are down near the base of the cake, if it's just like some frosting decoration or candies or something, but I opted to do them like all in just different colors to match the rainbow theme. Then we've got a couple presents that one of the other celebration hamsters is holding, and then the star on the party hat. Now remember, I had to stamp a few additional images on another piece of cardstock, and I ended up not having enough hamsters for that happy birthday to you cover card, so I will stamp one additional one. I'm not sure that I color him on camera though, but it's very similar. But that sometimes happens. Don't be afraid to go back in and, you know, stamp, color, add more as needed. I never know when I start adding the images to the little cutout letters if it's going to be quite enough. I probably could have added even more, but you sometimes run the risk of making it hard to read the cover, so hopefully it still stands out good. So here I think I stamped some. They're off camera because I had zoomed in for coloring, so sorry. As soon as we move this out, there we go. And again, we're going to start with the hamsters with just a quick color. These are the little agenda hamsters. I love that they all coordinate and complement. You can use them all together if you want to. Really, really cute. I love the one holding the strawberries. I thought she was cute. I love the one holding the paintbrush. I am going to move it up. I'm so sorry, you guys. I had it held a little too close to me. Mostly because I think I've mentioned this before. I don't sit to film or create cards. And I was sitting due to my knee. And so I can't see my camera quite as well when I'm sitting. So as soon as I noticed, I move it up, but I do apologize. Yeah, there we go. We're going to color all the accessories where you can see it. That's good. Our 35, 30, and 32 was used for hearts, strawberries, all that good stuff. Tip of the paintbrush, I thought that was kind of fun too. Let's see, a little aqua for the envelope. Little pink for the hair bows. I think the hair bows are so cute. We're going to use the E47 and 44 for the paintbrush handle. Some yellows for the rest of the accessories on the paintbrush. And some greens for the tip of our strawberries. Then I am going to go in with a white pen and a black pen. Both of them are jelly roll pens. And I'm going to add in the detail for the eyes. And I'm going to add in the detail for some like little highlights. So I want to mention this really quick because when I'm using the coordinating steel rule dies, you guys will probably, if you've been here a while, know that I recommend taking the black jelly roll pen to eyes after you have die cut them with a manual die cutting machine. When you use a manual machine, often the black jelly roll pen will kind of flatten, if you will, and I think it kind of ruins the effect. So I generally won't add any of that till afterwards. But because I'm going to use the Brothers Scan and Cut, I thought, well, let's give it a shot and see how it works. And it worked beautifully because you're not getting that compression that you get with a manual die cutting machine. And so I was able to go ahead and do the black eyes first. I'm also adding some white detail to the party hats with either a diagonal stripe, polka dot, or a horizontal stripe. We're going to add a little detail to the cake as well with some little white dots for the cheeks and all of that good stuff. I will be adding some glossy accents and Nuvo crystal drops in White Blizzard to different areas of this design. Once I have everything on the cards just where I want them, you guys know I like adding glossy accents to the balloons as the perfect little finishing touch. So let's go ahead and do these little images, and then I will die cut them off camera and come back and start putting the shaker cards together. First up, I have some excess packaging here. This is some larger packaging. I think this is from a Hero Art set. I like just holding on to a few of these because it's perfect for creating some flat shakers. I'm just going to trim these down. I generally take my panel and hold it up so that I can kind of see how big I need it to be. Just want to make sure that I have plenty of overhang to wrap around my background piece. Now I want to mention this. I like my backgrounds to be slightly smaller than A2. So I call it a scant A2 background. I trimmed down this rainbow panel to a little less than 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. That's going to ensure that once I wrap the plastic packaging around my shaker, because it does add a tiny bit of bulk. Not as much bulk as a traditional foam shaker, but it's going to add a little bit. That when I place the cover over the top, and I only want it to be a scant smaller because like the parties or the celebration cover has a very thin border, and I want it to cover that up, of course, but it does make it so that it fits really nicely and nothing sticks out. And that was the whole goal. So I put some nice double-sided adhesive around all 4 sides of my panel, and starting with the 2 long sides, I pull those really taut and pull those around. And then I like to cut my corners at an angle not too close to the corner because you don't want any shaker material escaping. And then I'm going to fold up one of the sides. So in this case, the bottom. And I'm going to grab my celebration cover and make sure that's gonna fit okay. And I decided to add color to the party streamers with my Copic markers. So any of those rainbow markers that you saw me use, I am going to go ahead and go in and add a little detail here. A couple of spots I didn't like my coloring very well, but that's okay. We're just going to add color to all of these fun streamers. Once I'm done with that, I am going to attach this panel right over my background, and I'm going to stamp a sentiment from the Celebration Hamsters stamp set. I really couldn't decide. I wanted to use the bigger one, but then I thought I wouldn't have enough room, and so I picked a smaller one, but I ended up going back to have a Hamsterific birthday because I thought it was funny. And we will be using that, and it stamps beautifully on the plastic packaging with some cotton white StazOn ink. I love my cotton white StazOn ink. I know I've mentioned this many times. It is my favorite. So let's just go around the perimeter of the card with some 1/8 inch double-sided adhesive. I'm not going to bother doing the streamers, adding any liquid glue or anything there. And before we fill the shaker is when we want to stamp that greeting, but I really need to see where that's going to go by using the celebration cover. I want it to go between those bottom 2 streamers. And so that's kind of, I'm playing around trying to figure out the best placement, how I want everything to go. And I was going to use Hammy Birthday, but I'm going to switch out to have a Hamsterific birthday. This also, I want to mention there's some other great birthday stamp sets in this month's release, and I will customize the inside of my cards with those. And here I decided, yes, I do have room for the bigger sentiment. So I've placed this in my MISTI just in case. It's a great backup. Did not get that very straight. I fiddle with this for a minute. That's even worse. Let's try again. Sorry about my head in the way. I apparently needed to get right over the top of that. And then we're going to take our cotton white StazOn ink, like so, and stamp our sentiment. And then I filled it with some shaker material, closed it up, and added my images as well as the glossy accents and all that good stuff. I'm going to go ahead and fill my second shaker. This is just a white background, a little bit smaller than A2 sized. I'm filling it with some rainbow shaker material because I used up everything I had from the first sequin mix. But this is some that I've had from Honeybee Stamps for a long time. I love it, and we're going to just trim that down. And I kind of filled these shakers pretty full this time because there's I want there to be color everywhere, but still lie pretty flat. And then 1/8 inch adhesive all over the back of the Happy Birthday to You panel. You can see right here that the background, the shaker is a little bit smaller. Oh, look how cute. Okay, we're going to start gluing down and adhering our little hamster agenda, tucking those into some of the letter openings. Vowels are always a great place to do that. Obviously, letter O's are cute, but I use like letter A's. Let's see. I'm even going to tuck one into the letter R. I played around with my little agenda a lot, just trying to find the best spots to adhere these guys where you can still see, you know, their cute faces, the things they're holding. I thought I would incorporate these balloons, but it was just too much. Sometimes it's better to take something away. So I'm just going to save those balloons for something else. Those are from that celebration cover from the first card we created. Those are some of the balloons and things. They're really awesome. So I'm just going to hold on to those and use those for another card a little bit later this month. There's my little strawberry and the letter A. And then I did grab another one. You can see it there, the little party hamster next to the letter D. I went and added him as I felt like I needed just a little something else to that section. On the inside of the card, we are going to be stamping "Time to Celebrate, wishing you only the best." I'm going to do kind of an ombre effect with my Pawsitively saturated inks. This is another new stamp set from the February 2022 release. I almost said January. I mean, guys, where did January go? Where's February going? I'm going to stamp those sentiments with bubblegum and blush for the ombre effect for "Time to Celebrate." There are coordinating dies that work with these greetings. This is something you would definitely want the steel rule dies for, as the Brother Scannon cut isn't going to cut it the same. You can draw a line around it, I've heard, to die cut it, but I personally really like the steel dies for my sentiments like this. And then I used Surf to stamp "Wishing You the Very Best." So it's "Happy Birthday to You, time to celebrate, wishing you the very best." We will attach this shaker to our card front, and that is it, friends. I hope you have enjoyed these shaker cards featuring brand new Mama Elephant products from the February 2022 release. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here is another video featuring Mama Elephant products that you might be interested in. I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to my Patreon members. If you would like to become a member of Patreon, please click the link in the description below. We would love to have you there. For my top tier Patreon members, we do an exclusive live every month. We're getting ready to have that here in the next week or so. And also there are lots of other fun perks for all tiers. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to always be notified when I have a new card making video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.